Hi, I'm Heather.
And I'm Katie.
And we're going batty, and today is the day. It's finally today. What day is it, Katie?
Donut day.
We're making donuts today.
Making donuts.
All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put our yeast in our water and let it proof. And I will make sure that this recipe is put in the description box below so that you guys have all the measurements and everything. All right, our next step is we're going to scald our milk. Oops, I turned on the wrong burner. That's bad. We're going to pour our milk in here and we're going to heat it up and scald it. And then I'll show you what our next step is going to be. Okay, for those of you that don't know what scalded milk is milk that is nearly brought to a boil. It's not quite boiling, so it's going to have those like little bubbles in it. But you use it in bread recipes and stuff. It helps make bread, like the donuts that I'm making. It's helping to make them fluffier and to rise better. So that's what scalded milk is. So to give you a little history on this recipe that we have, Mrs. Kylie was my grandmother. It was her best friend. And she was friends with my grandmother up until she passed away about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. And but they did everything together. They would go out and they would do stuff and they would hang out. All right, so our milk is almost scalded right now. It's starting to get some little bubbles around the outside edge. It's not quite boiling yet, but you can feel it like when you're rubbing your spatula along the bottom, like you can feel that there's a little bit of stuff that's starting to try to want to stick. So just keep stirring it, and like I said, you need to start looking for that outside edge of your pot will start to get a little bit foamy. And if it starts to simmer a little bit, that's fine. Just as soon as it starts doing that, pull it off the heat and you'll have your scalded milk. Alright, so now our next step is we're going to add our sugar and our salt to our milk. I turned the heat off, and I'm going to pull that off. And we're going to kind of stir that in and dissolve the sugar and the salt. And then we're going to add our butter in, and that's going to help cool the milk down so it doesn't kill our yeast when we put it in to our yeast mixture with our water. And we're just going to mix this until the butter dissolves in it. Our butter and milk and sugar and salt mixture has cooled down. It's about lukewarm right now, so we're going to pour this into our mixing bowl. Make sure we scrape all of that stuff out of there. And then now we're going to add about 2 cups of sifted flour. I sifted this flour. A lot of times I don't sift flour when I'm making just regular bread and everything, but for something like this, you really need to sift the flour. Now we're going to add in our eggs. And we're going to add in our yeast mixture. I'm going to scrape that out real good. Get all of that yeast out of there because you're going to need every bit of it. And now we're going to mix this again. Alright, so now I've got the eggs and the yeast all added in, and I'm going to switch over to my dough hook, and I'm going to start adding the flour in. Now I have 7.5 cups of flour. But that's subtracting the 2 that I've already put in here. So I have about 5.5 cups of flour left in here now, and I'm just going to start adding this until the dough just kind of starts to come together. It's going to be a soft dough. So I'll show you what it looks like when I'm done. All right, so if you can see our dough, it's soft. It's slightly sticky, but not super sticky. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this out on a floured surface, and then I'm going to knead it for about, I don't know, 5 to 8 minutes. And then then I'll show you our next step. All right, so that's what you're kind of looking for. It's smooth, and it's kind of got a satiny look to it. It kind of bounces back when you push it. All right, so don't know if I said it, but the bowl, you're gonna put it in an oiled bowl. You're gonna let it rise. I think it's about an hour to an hour and a half until it doubles in size. I kind of go by size, not so much by time. So until it doubles in size. And then we'll show you what to do next. The other thing I wanted to mention is that you need to put your dough in a warm area. I didn't set it on the counter because there is an air conditioning vent right here. If you can see it, it's sitting back there on the stove with the light on it. So we're just letting it raise right now. All right, so it took my bread about an hour and a half to get to this size. So you can see it's doubled in size. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna uncover it, and then we're just gonna punch it down. Let all that air out of it. Okay, then now what we're gonna do is we're gonna recover it, and we're gonna let it rise again. So we're gonna probably give it about 55 minutes until it doubles in size again. And so cover that back up, and we're gonna put it right back in that warm place on the stove and with the light over top of it. I think that does really well with this. So I'll see you in about 55 minutes. All right, so we've let it rise. It took about 55 minutes. It's doubled in size again. So we floured our surface. We're gonna roll these out till they're about 1/3 of an inch thick. So I'm gonna flour my rolling pin. I've got my surface floured, and we're gonna go ahead and roll this out. All right, so now we've got it all rolled out. It's about 1/3 of an inch thick, and I'm going to take this. This is actually, I got that in the hardware section of Walmart. It's a like a scraper, but I'm going to cut these into squares. I don't have a donut cutter that has the holes in it, so we're just going to cut them into little squares. So here are all of my donuts. They're all cut out. We're gonna let these raise for another 30 to 40 minutes. And while these are raising, I'm going to go heat up the oil in the deep fryer. All right, so we have our oil heating up. Our our donuts are raising. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make the glaze while it's doing that. So I'm gonna sift 2 cups of powdered sugar into there. And this is going to be powdered sugar, vanilla, and milk. It's super simple. Our donuts are done raising, so what we're going to do is we're going to, this needs to be about 300 degrees. And when you fill up your Fry Daddy deep fryer, whatever, only make it about 1/3 of the way full. I mean, this is probably got about that much oil because you don't want it to bubble over and get everywhere. So we're going to drop one of these in. We'll probably do maybe 3 of them at a time. And we're going to let them get kind of golden brown. Move this over, maybe you can see. Not for myself, but they're frying right now. So when they turn brown, I'm going to flip them over, and then we're going to drain them on a paper towel lined baking sheet. And then I'm going to give them to my mom, and she's going to glaze them for us. All right, so I'm flipping them over right now. 1, 2. And it's not taking long for these things to fry at all. So I'm pulling them out, and that's what they look like. They're hot, but they're brown on both sides. So we're going to let those drain on here. So we're getting to taste the donuts for the first time. Max, what do you think?
I'm pretty sure I'm in love.
You're in love with the donut, or you're in love with me?
The donut.
Okay, that's
I love
good.
you too, though.
That's awesome. All right, so Kevin has to work late, so I delivered donuts to him. And what do you think, sweetie?
That's amazing. That is amazing.
So, kind of a good treat for somebody who has to work late. So that is Mrs. Kylie's donuts. And they are awesome. And I hope that Mrs. Kylie is now in heaven making donuts for Jesus. So, I hope you guys enjoy this. Remember to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave them in the description below, and I will try to answer them as well as I can. More updates as we go. Bye.